He's a little bit country. He's a little bit rock and roll. He's a little bit polka, death metal, abstract jazz, and German industrial techno. He's Scott Leffler. He's not allowed near the stereo at parties.
Today I'm a little bit punk as we have 6 punk songs during today's show. Hey, hi, how are you? I'm Scott Leffler. Welcome to Here's the Thing. So today we're going to play some punk music, as I've already said. Andrew McGrath is going to be my guest. He's my only guest again for the day, and he and I are going to talk sports and other things. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk politics, because politics is what I do. So as far as music goes, we've got songs by A Failed Apology, Balchi Psychotics, Cardboard Homestead, Dreadnecks, Jackdaw, and the Spit Sisters. So punk music to look forward to throughout the course of the show. And I want to go with punk because, as I've said before on this show, I feel like one of the potential benefits of having a totalitarian regime is that we get good punk music. And so, while we might not have a ton of new punk music, I do at least have punk music to go with today's show because I am going to focus, for the most part, on politics. And my main topic for the day is Kilmar Armando Ábrego García. Now, the name might not mean anything to you, but if I say the Maryland man, that might mean a lot to you. Maybe it doesn't, so let me explain further. Kilmar Armando Ábrego García is a guy from Maryland. Well, he's a Maryland resident who was originally, apparently, from Salvador, moved to the United States when he was a teen, and has had the protection of the United States courts to prevent him from being deported back to Salvador, or El Salvador, because it would be dangerous for him. Now, you've probably heard his name in the news if you follow the news at all, and if you listen to this show, or at least this part of this show, I've got to assume that you do follow the news at least a little bit. So, Kilmar Armando Ábrego García was arrested in Maryland way back on March 12th. And then he was deported despite a court order preventing him from being removed to El Salvador. Now, the Trump administration, even though there was a court order saying they couldn't do it, they just did it. Consequences be damned. Obviously, uproar from the people, blah, blah, blah. The Trump administration later admitted that it had deported Ábrego García due to a quote-unquote administrative error, but then defended the move and said he was a member of the criminal gang MS-13, which seems to be their code for anybody they don't like. Well, they're a gang member, MS-13, that seems to be the new one. You know, it used to be Al-Qaeda, and then it was... You name it, whatever it is, the administration, and now it's this administration that is currently at fault, but previous administrations have done the same thing. Any bad guy is a member of whatever the bad thing is at the time. And so Ábrego García is allegedly a member of MS-13. Of course, his family says he's not. His lawyers say he's not. But they've got photos that they claim proves it, although a lot of people say that those photos were doctored, blah, 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 yakety schmackety. You know how it works in 2025. So the Trump administration deported him. They're like, yeah, you got to go to this prison, this super secret, well, not secret so much, but this super safe, no, not safe, safe's the wrong word, secure is the word, this super secure prison that we've got, which is basically a concentration camp in El Salvador. And the administration put him on a plane, took him there, dropped him off, and they're like, you know, wipe their hands of it, and then move on. And the courts are like, but we said you couldn't do that. And they're like, oh, sorry, we screwed up, but there's nothing we can do to fix it. As usual, no consequences. Now, the Supreme Court of the United States voted 9-0 on April 10th to tell the Trump administration that they, quote-unquote, must facilitate the return of Ábrego García. Trump administration still said, there's nothing we can do. We can't get this guy to come back. Then they had the president of El Salvador in the Oval Office and basically said, I can't bring him back. He's a criminal. Despite the fact that as of this point in my story, so we're in early April, no criminal charges have been filed against him. None, zero, period. Finally, he was returned in June. On June 6th, he was returned to the United States after they said they couldn't do it. What do you know? Magic. They returned him, and he is now facing charges of human trafficking. A federal grand jury indicted him on May 21st in Tennessee over allegations that he conspired to transport thousands of migrants without legal status from Texas across the U.S. border between 2016 and 2025. Just magically, while he's in El Salvador, these charges get filed. He gets indicted. Now, I hate the word indicted, by the way. Indicted sounds really bad. All it means is charged. You will notice if you ever read, and I certainly hope that you do, All Western New York News, that I never, almost never, every once in a while one will slip through, I'm sure, but as a rule, I do not use the word indicted because people's brains read indicted as really bad. And indicted is just another way to say charged. It's another means of levying charges. So, he was indicted on May 21st in Tennessee over allegations that he conspired to transport thousands of migrants without legal status from Texas across the U.S. border over the course of 9 years. So there were no charges before he was sent to El Salvador, and then there were. Now, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement that the indictment, quote-unquote, proves the unhinged Democratic Party was wrong, and their stenographers in the fake news media were once again played like fools, adding that the administration would continue to hold criminals accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Now, I want you to remember that. This administration will, quote-unquote, continue to hold criminals accountable to the fullest extent of the law. This administration is mostly comprised of criminals. Donald Trump, found guilty of 74 counts of all sorts of shit. Other members of the administration. Donald Trump has pardoned more white-collar criminals than every other president probably in the history of ever. So, this administration loves criminals as long as they're not brown. If they're brown, then forget it, you're done. And they love criminals as long as they're MAGA, or MAGA, as some people say. But if you're, not, if you support, free speech, then they don't love you so much. So, he's charged, and they say this is proof. The charges to them are proof that he did bad things. Of course, that's not how the criminal justice system works at all, ever, period. You can get charged with anything. An attorney once famously said you could indict a ham sandwich. I don't know whether that's true, but I don't doubt it. So now they've got these charges, and then just recently, and this is the main reason that I want to talk about this today, just recently, the administration announced that they have a star witness against Ábrego García. Now, Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes, convicted of, not charged with, not indicted for, convicted of smuggling migrants and illegally re-entering the U.S., has a deal with the United States government that if he testifies against Ábrego García, they'll just wipe his slate clean. He's also pleaded to deadly conduct in connection with a separate incident where he drunkenly fired a gun in a Texas community. Like, hey, bang, bang. Like, that's okay, though, because he's not the guy they want. So this guy, even though he has been convicted, found guilty of the things they say they're against, they're willing to let all of that slide because they don't want to be proven wrong. They came out right away and said this Ábrego García is a MS-13 gang member. He's bad. He's the worst kind of human being. And they had no evidence of that. To the best of my knowledge, they still have no real evidence of that. The only evidence that they have is that allegedly Ábrego García drove this Hernandez Reyes car and was stopped in Tennessee. That is their evidence that he is a gangbanger who, does all the illegal things. So this administration is willing to let crimes slide, again, hold criminals accountable, but they're willing to not hold criminals accountable if they think that it can somehow make them look right. Now, I have a group chat with a couple of friends, one of whom is very anti-Trump, one of whom gives Trump the benefit of the doubt a little too much, but that's another issue. We're still friends. Sometimes I want to strangle him, but we're still friends. And my anti-Trump friend made a comment to me today. He said, this administration would rather be right than be right. if you know what I mean. And I did know exactly what he meant, and you probably do as well. They want to look right. They don't care if they actually are right, but they want people to think that they're right. That's more important. The perception of them being right is more important than them being right. So I would not be shocked if in the course of the past few months they did their due diligence and actually, did some research and found out that this Ábrego García guy has never done anything wrong. That's possible. But they're going to charge him anyway because they already said he was a bad guy. And once they said he was a bad guy, they had to now prove that he's a bad guy, even if he's not a bad guy. Because they cannot ever admit they were wrong. The fact that they even admitted that there was an administrative error is about the closest that they come to ever admitting that they were wrong. And I'm honestly shocked that they even admitted that much. So right now, Ábrego García he's in jail. Waiting, these charges, whatever. A federal judge in Nashville has been preparing to release him to await trial because that is a thing that happens in the United States when you're charged with something. You don't just wait in jail until the court date. You are released on bail or bond or whatever, and then you come back for the court date. Now, sometimes they don't release you. They don't have bond if they think that you are a flight risk. This judge is not releasing Ábrego García. Not because the judge thinks he's a flight risk, but because the judge doesn't trust the federal government. The judge is afraid that if they let him out of jail, ICE will sweep him up again and again deport him to El Salvador in another oops, because that's all this fucking administration does is oops. It is the oops administration. Now, famously, I do not like this administration. They are the worst of the worst people. I mean, Trump himself obviously is king of the horrible. But then you've got Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Have you ever watched any of her press conferences? They are absolutely abysmal. She is the snottiest little bitch that you will ever see. And she just treats people horribly because she feels like she can. And I feel like that's MAGA as a whole. They treat people horribly because the MAGA-in-chief, Trump, also treats people horribly and gets away with it. Basically does whatever he wants, and there doesn't seem to ever be any consequences. Now, the Supreme Court is saying, at least in this one instance, you've got to do what you can to bring him back. They said we can't. There's nothing we can do. The Supreme Court never acted on that. The Supreme Court never said, we're going to find you in contempt if you don't facilitate this. The Supreme Court did issue their ruling 9-0 that they must facilitate his return, but then they said, yeah, we're not going to do that. And the Supreme Court didn't come back and say, as they should have, didn't come back and say, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. And here's part of the reason why. They're all fucking complicit. Now, not every member of the Supreme Court is complicit, but the court as a whole is complicit with this Trump administration and simply allows them to do whatever they want, whenever they want, without any consequences whatsoever. The Republicans in Congress, same thing. They don't care that Trump breaks law after law. They don't care that Trump breaks tradition after tradition. They, somehow or another, have these rose-colored glasses, and I don't even feel like that's the proper. Like, they're not rose-colored. They're I don't know what the fuck they are. These people are on acid because they think that Donald Trump is, 1, a good guy, 2, a smart guy, 3, a businessman, 4, the second fucking coming of Christ. And he is none of those things. He is an absolute fucking moron who does whatever he wants because he can get away with it. You know, he famously said in the 2016 presidential race that he could, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and his voters would still vote for him. That seems to have been proven true because he has openly committed crimes and basically said, what are you going to do about it? Republicans in Congress say, we're not going to do anything about it. The Supreme Court says, we're not going to do anything about it. The voters say, we're not going to do anything about it because I don't fucking know. There's like mass hysteria in this country. Republicans love to talk about Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. And to them, Trump derangement syndrome, say that, Scott. To them, Trump derangement syndrome is when people don't like Donald Trump for quote-unquote no reason. But to me, Trump derangement syndrome is them supporting everything this motherfucker does for no reason other than, and I don't know the reason. I simply do not know the reason. I was watching a Daily Show clip earlier today or yesterday or at some point in the not too distant past. Time blends, you know how that works. And it was Jordan Klepper, one of their anchors and correspondents, was interviewing this woman who basically said she's a Republican, voted for Trump, said she's sick of him, he's got to go, he's the worst ever. And Klepper said, because of this, and this, and she said, yeah, like he the sex things, and he's done all these things wrong. Then Klepper says, what if Donald Trump ran against Biden again? And she's like, oh, that'd be hard. She's like, I think I'd vote for Trump. And, like, why? I can't. I just can't. Maybe you can. Maybe you can explain this to me. If you can, feel free to reach out to me on X at Scott Leffler, on Blue Sky at scottleffler.com, I think. Or, you know what, just go to scottleffler.com and click the contact thing, and you can see all the different ways to get a hold of me, including email. Like, if you want your comments to be private, feel free to do that. I'm going to take a break. We're going to play some songs. I'm going to come back and talk for a little bit more. And then we've got Andrew McGrath coming up. We're going to talk sports, among other things. And, dude, thanks for listening. You're listening to Here's the Thing on All Western New York Radio. so much to do in Western New York. Find your faves at allwnyevents.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, the role of Scott Leffler will be played by Dr. Pepper.
Welcome back to Here's the Thing. I'm still your host. My name is still Scott Leffler, and we just had music by Failed Apology with This Past Year, and the Spit Sisters with Nosebleed. Today we're doing punk music because I'm in a punk sort of mood. But we are going to switch from politics to life, because I can't just be angry all the time. I have to enjoy the little things in life, and there are a lot of little things in life to enjoy. For example, my lovely wife. Now, are you married? Are you in a serious relationship? Does your spouse or significant other send you TikTok things all the time? Because my wife does. I'm not a TikTok fan, but she uses TikTok in much the same way that I use X, for example. That's her news. That is, she scrolls through and finds things that she finds amusing or sometimes upsetting. I don't do TikTok because reasons, doesn't matter. I think I'm old. I think that's the main reason. But she will send me things that she finds on TikTok on a very regular basis, and sometimes I do enjoy them. Now, the other day she sent me one, and I quite enjoyed it. Watched it, beginning to end, so all 18 seconds of it or whatever. I think that's one of my main problems with TikTok is there's just too short. You need more body to things. But the topic really intrigued me, so I did a little bit more research. So the TikTok that she sent me was about the sharpening of a gigantic number 2 pencil. Do you know what I'm talking about? If not, I've got a great story for you. So in Minneapolis, Minnesota, early part of June 7th is when the story that I'm reading from was written, or was published, I guess I should say, explains that more than 1,000 people gathered in a scenic Minneapolis neighborhood for an annual ritual, the sharpening of a gigantic number 2 pencil. So there is a 20-foot tall pencil that was sculpted out of a huge oak tree at the home of John and Amy Higgins. The tree was damaged a few years ago in a storm, and John decided, let's make this into some sort of a sculpture. So they made it into a sculpture of a pencil. Now, every year, in their front lawn, this is just these people. It's not a public park. It's just the home of John and Amy Higgins. Every year, on their front lawn, there is basically what is a community festival that draws hundreds to sometimes more than 1,000 people to the leafy neighborhood on Lake of the Isles, complete with music and pageantry. There were people dressed up as pencils. They actually get out like a huge pencil sharpener that looks like they're sharpening this pencil. The Swiss Alphorn Players provided part of this year's entertainment. The host commemorated a Minneapolis icon, the late superstar Prince, by handing out purple pencils on what would have been his 67th birthday. Rachel Hyman said she flew from Chicago for the event, which a friend had told her about. And so my wife sent me this, and she's like, this is so cool. And I'm like, that is so cool. And that is the type of thing that I would love to do, and the type of thing that I would love to see more of. And we have so many, look, dude, we have no shortage of festivals in Western New York. We're going to the Pirate Festival in a couple weekends. We got, we just had festivals. We got festivals all summer long. It is festival season, basically, as soon as spring hits, all the way until, mid-September, if you will. So I'm not saying that we lack festivals, but wouldn't it be cool if we had even more? And things like this. Now, one festival that I have always wanted to have, and this is a me thing, although it should be an us thing. I have always thought that we should have a festival to commemorate our very own, well, not very own, but temporary resident, Nikola Tesla. Now, Tesla, for those of you who are unfamiliar, invented alternating current power. Didn't invent it. I guess it probably already existed. He figured out a way to harness Did he invent it? I mean, you can't really invent power. You can invent the transmit. I don't know. That is all right, Leffler. You have to look that up to figure out whether you just said something wrong or not. But he worked on alternating current power to send electricity from point A to point B. And at one point, he sent electricity from Niagara Falls to Buffalo. Now, The All Western New York Radio Studio is located in the Niagara Business Center, which is at 1625 Buffalo Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York. Next to it is the old Adams Power Plant. Now, the Adams Power Plant was designed by none other than Nikola Tesla. There's all sorts of things throughout Western New York that Nikola Tesla had a hand in some way or another that simply wouldn't exist without him. And because a significant portion of what he accomplished was done right here in Western New York, specifically in Niagara Falls, I have always felt that we should have some sort of a Nikola Tesla festival. Now, his birthday is coming up next week. It's July 10th. And I know, obviously, July 16th is 716 Day. We make a big deal out of that. But I think we should also make a big deal out of what I am, wanting to call Nikola Tesla Day, where we do, I don't know what we would do, but we could do fun things in the name of Nikola Tesla. I think that that'd be really cool. We could have other festivals for other things, but this is the one that obviously, strikes my fancy, if you will. But we can have festivals for other famous Western New Yorkers or people who, not necessarily from, because Tesla's not from Western New York, but a portion of his life was spent here and, it was kind of a big deal. But we can have other things for other people because I personally believe that we should just have as much fun as humanly possible. There is so much time in the winter months when we can't do things. Well, I mean, we can, but it certainly isn't easy. That it'd just be fun if we could fill the summer months with as many things as humanly possible. And there are so many possibilities. There's so much potential. Now, would these festivals compete with one another? Yeah, to an extent. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. It's probably a good thing. Because, just as an example, if we were to have a Nikola Tesla festival, we would probably draw people from throughout the United States and the world, including Serbia, where he's from, who would be interested in going to that, who may not be interested in going to the Lewiston Festival of the Arts, for example. And so just because they would compete with each other to an extent doesn't necessarily mean that it's a zero-sum game. We can make the pie higher, as I believe George Bush used to say, which is actually a pretty smart phrase, especially for George W. Bush. All right, not getting back to politics. Point being, Pencil Sharpening Festival, awesome. Nikola Tesla Festival, also awesome. We should have other festivals for other things, particularly during the summer months, despite the fact that it is hot as balls. Now, according to my Google device that's sitting in front of me, it is currently 78 degrees outside. I know 78 doesn't seem like it's very warm, and it's not. Like, obviously, it gets worse. But, man, I am constantly sweating. And my office is just, there's so much moisture in the air. Literally everything is damp. I brought some groceries to the office because I, eat most of my meals here, to be completely honest with you. And within an hour, the paper bag that the groceries were in was damp. That shouldn't be. Nothing, of course, is nearly as damp as the crack of my ass, but that's a whole other issue. Summer months, just yuck. Anyway, people say don't complain about the warm because it gets too cold. Here's the thing, though. I don't typically complain about the cold. Now, sometimes I complain about the snow, for example, when I have to shovel it, but the cold itself doesn't bother me because I can always put on more clothes. I can only take off so many clothes without, sparking controversy or getting arrested. But that's just my take on that little miniature issue. All right, so we're going to take another break. We're going to listen to some music. When we come back, we're going to have Andrew McGrath, and he and I are going to talk sports and other things. It's Bobby Bonilla Day. Also, I'm going to ask him the question, because it's my turn this week to ask questions, or to ask a question, I should say. I am going to ask him, and I want you to think about it before he's not here, so we can't hear the question. I want you to think about it so that you have an answer when he's thinking about his answer. If you could pick one athlete, either current or former athlete, but has to be alive, this has got to be a live person, if you could pick one athlete to help you during the zombie apocalypse. So let's just say the zombie apocalypse comes, it's real, you can pick one former athlete who basically is your bodyguard. Or current athlete, former or current athlete, but again, has to be alive, can't be Babe Ruth. Now, the Babe Ruth would be a good choice, but just so you get an idea. Who would it be? Think about it. We'll talk with Drew about it in a little bit, and then if you want to answer, I would love to hear your answer on X or Blue Sky or Facebook. You were at All WNY or All WNY News on all of those. And, yeah, let me know your thoughts. So I'm going to take a break. We're going to play music. When we come back, Drew McGrath in studio. You're listening to All Western New York Radio, home of the Think So Joe Show, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Tune in or miss out.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, the role of Scott Leffler will be played by Paula Abdul.
Welcome back to Here's the Thing. I'm your host. My name's Scott Leffler. We just heard songs by Jackdaw with Corner Bar live and Balchi Psychotics with Kmart Radio Rules. All West New York Radio rules, or at least I hope you think so. Joining me in studio, my buddy Drew McGrath. We're going to talk sports and some other things. Who knows? Drew, how's it going, man?
Well, good. Just got out of work today. Helped a friend doing this.
Nice. Happy Canada Day.
Oh, is that what today is? The first?
It's among other things. It is Canada Day.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what else today is?
Just July 1st.
Bobby Bonilla Day.
Oh yeah, he gets that payment today. Yeah. That, I think it's is it until 2036 or
2035? 2035. So 10 more years, Bobby Bonilla gets like almost
1.2 million or something.
I think it's almost 2 million, isn't it?
I don't know. I
thought it was like 1.78 or something stupidly. Let's check that up. Bobby Bonilla Day. Oh, it's 1.19. I must have misread it, but yeah. So yeah,
I thought it was I thought it was close to 1.2.
Yeah. So
but
yeah.
Still though, you get 1.2 million
to not play baseball,
to do absolutely nothing.
Right. And because it's such a cool deal for you, they basically made a holiday for you. Like people celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day. Just because it's so unusual.
Yeah, I think there's 5 other players that have deals like that. Like Ken Griffey Jr. has one with the Cincinnati Reds.
But they don't have the notoriety.
Right, but because I think
hold on, not to say that Ken Griffey Jr. doesn't have the notoriety
for this day, in particular.
Yeah,
for this feat.
I would actually say Ken Griffey Jr. has more notoriety than Bobby Bonilla, but yeah, for having a day where you get your annual paycheck to not play baseball. Bobby Bonilla. So now I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but I don't remember how did this work? Did they buy him out?
Yeah, so I think it was the Mets that bought him out, and what they did is they deferred whatever money was over I think it was 20 years or something like that, or 30 years or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever, dude. I would not mind getting an annual $1.19 million paycheck to do nothing.
Right.
Now, that's not to say that he hadn't earned it while he was playing, although I don't know, maybe he didn't. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of cool.
Yeah.
One of those fun
okay.
things.
And then you figure, we'll just say with taxes and everything like that, $650,000.
Right.
And you can stay home and do nothing. You can eat Cheetos, sit in your boxers, and watch TV all day.
Which is what I do, and nobody pays me to do that.
See?
Yeah. I don't know.
Wrong life choices.
I have historically made some bad ones, but I'm trying to make good ones now, including having you on this show every week to talk about God knows what. And so other than it being Bobby Bonilla Day and my weekly question for you, which I've got a good one for you. The people already know what it is. I told them.
Okay, I got one for you too. And,
I did yours last week.
I know, but yes, but I also got one for you too, though.
Sure.
But I just want to. I could save it, but it came up
totally
in my head.
We will trade questions later in the show. Now, sports-wise, as we have mentioned on numerous occasions, we're in that sports doldrum, so we might not have a lot of sports to talk about today. Do you have anything on your list that you wanted to discuss?
No, I just seen that crazy Dolphins trade.
I saw rumors of a crazy Dolphins trade, but I didn't.
So Jalen Ramsey,
it really happened?
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to the Steelers.
Okay.
For Minka Fitzpatrick, swapping of 2027 picks. So the Steelers get a 7th-round pick in 2027. The Dolphins get a 5th-round pick. And now the Dolphins just did a trade with, believe it's the Giants, for a tight end, Darren Waller, for some, draft pick or something that, they didn't have I didn't see all the details for. But, yeah. So, basically, they're just dumping salary and everything like that.
Right.
So, sounds like they're giving up.
Do you think the Steelers are going to have a good year?
Here's what I'm saying. I think they're going to be around like where they are, like 10-7, 11-6.
Right.
Squeak into the playoffs.
All right.
But I can't see them going any further.
Is Rodgers going to start 17 games?
I think he will.
Yeah.
I think he will because their defense is as good as it is. He's not going to have to do so much, and they do like running the ball.
Right.
So I think he'll be able to manage the game and last through the whole season. I just don't think they're as talented enough to make a deep run.
Which is how we
but
were
I give
for
them
years
credit.
and years. For years and years and years, we were mediocre. We were 8-9, 9-8, 10-7, just good enough to not get a good pick, but not good enough to make the playoffs. Or if we did, made it as wild card and we're out the first round.
Yeah,
We've finally gotten over that hump, and it takes teams, forever to. Some teams never. Well, I mean, obviously, teams will eventually get over that hump, but I mean, some teams will stay there and then get worse, and then finally do get better after they get a couple decent picks or whatever. But so you think the Dolphins are basically having a fire sale? They're done?
yes.
Interesting. So where do you see them this year?
Last in the division. I think the Jets will be third.
So us, then New England, then the Jets, then the Dolphins.
Yes.
Interesting. I'm thinking
Because,
about.
okay, I'm
thinking about the other teams in the East and how it's going to end up that way.
I don't trust Tua.
Yeah, I don't really like. I know Dolphins fans love him; they think he's great. He's not a bad quarterback. He's a decent quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback.
Yeah, I don't trust him. And then also, there's going to be those winter games that he's going to have to. With being in the AFC, you're going to be prone to bad weather.
Right.
In the playoffs.
Right.
He's got a proven track record. He can't win in games less than 40 degrees. Tyreek Hill is, although he's talented and everything like that, he's a head case.
Right.
So, like, other than Devon Achane and Waddle's so inconsistent, there's a couple weeks where he's playing really good,
right.
And then there's nothing out of it. There's, like, no production. So now it's like, okay, so, like, what do you really do? Like, okay, just try to, like, blanket cover Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Don't let him get behind you, and then take your chances with everybody else. So,
how do you see Stephon Diggs doing for New England, I should say?
I don't know. Like, to me, I know it's early, but I can see signs with Drake May that resemble Allen.
Okay.
When Allen was a rookie, he had, he was big. He had the strong arm. He could run a little, which is Drake May.
Right.
Drake May. Then once Allen got a couple weapons, everything like that, he progressed a little bit more. And then once he got Diggs, then he progressed even more than that. So I think with Diggs this year for them, if he's actually going to play, behave himself and everything like that.
Dude, that's so much of it though. It's just.
I think Drake makes
and not just Diggs,
yeah.
but I mean, so many players, like, they're making tens of millions of dollars over the course of a few years, and they have to be drama about it. They can't, like, dude. If I'm willing to sit on my butt and eat Cheetos for $1.19 million, I'm definitely willing to not get every pass when I'm making the money that Stephon Diggs is making. But you get these athletes of that level, and they not only want all the money, they also want all the play time, and they want to be involved in every single play. And if they would just, I don't know, play like a team every once in a while, maybe they'd actually do better. But they're so ego driven. It's just it's repulsive.
Yeah, and I get it, because it is a selfless position. Being on the outside, and a lot of times you're asked to come over the middle, take a bunch of big hits and everything like that, and you're kind of on your own island, kind of, where you're not as close to everybody else.
Right.
So I get it to a certain extent, but at the same point, though, it's like these guys got to block for the quarterback to be able to get you the ball. So,
right.
And that don't be a piss pot to the quarterback,
right.
Because then the quarterback's never going to throw you the ball and everything like that. So it's just a lot. And then this whole issue that he had on the boat
Right.
There's talk that the Patriots may, depending on how he plays, may even cut him before the end of the year is over.
Right.
Like he might not even make it through preseason.
So I know Drew and I talk sports, on a weekly basis, basically. But Drew is really the sports fan. He's a sports encyclopedia, and I don't know all that much. And to illustrate how little I know, now that Rodgers has gone to Pittsburgh, if you offered me $1 million to name one player of the New York Jets, I could not. Do they have anybody?
Yeah. So they have a running back, Breece Hall. They have Justin Fields, who was the Steelers quarterback.
Okay.
That they could have got for $10 million, and where they paid Rodgers $13 and waited all that time and everything like that.
Right.
And then also they just traded for, the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf as a wide receiver. But yeah, so the Jets have Garrett Wilson as well as a wide receiver. Him and Fields played in the at Ohio State together for like a year or so.
The Ohio State University.
Yes. So Garrett Wilson's he's good. Breece Hall is good. The Jets defense isn't bad though.
Right.
They got a pretty decent defense. It's just everything fell apart for them last year and everything. But plus their management has their heads up their butts and don't know what they're doing.
Gotcha. Speaking of the Ohio State University, we had company in this past weekend. My wife and I had friends visiting from Ohio, and so if you are a resident of Ohio, there are exceptions to this rule, but very, very, very few. For the most part, the entire state of Ohio is fans of Ohio State University. So despite the fact that they were basically from Cleveland, they're Ohio State fans. I mean, it is the state college, and pretty much everybody roots for them. So
I'm actually an Ohio State football fan.
Yeah, so he and I talked a little bit about that, and going to a game at the Horseshoe.
I wanted to go to one.
Yeah, he said he's been to a few games, including an Ohio State-Michigan game.
Yeah.
104,000 people in the stadium. Just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think the Horseshoe, actually, I think they go up to 110.
Is it 110? I thought it was 104, but yeah. Well, he said 104. Maybe that was how many was at that game.
But that's insane because pro teams don't get like 70.
Right. Well, I do feel like there are, we like the Bills. But we are not, in Western New York, football crazed. In Ohio, in Texas, in Alabama, in a few of the other southern states, but particularly to me, Ohio, Texas, Alabama, they are football crazed. When I lived in Ohio, I used to work at a small newspaper in Shelby, Ohio. Itty-bitty town like the size of Sanborn, right? And if you did not go to the game Friday night, you better be dead.
Right.
Because if you didn't go to the game Friday night and somebody sees you like on the streets on Saturday, they'll be like, how did you miss the game? People knew like the names of the players, high school kids playing football. But like it was, and this was just this one little town, but all of the towns were like that. All of the towns, like football was life. And then Texas is worse. But I really did. Ohio has a different culture when it comes to sports, particularly football. And in fact, football might as well be just about the only sport that does exist. There's some basketball fans, but for the most part, it's football. There's some baseball fans, but again, for the most part, it's football. It was a unique experience living through that. Now, this friend of ours who was up also said that his son works for the Browns.
Okay.
And he told me what his job was, but like the words didn't sound like English to me. I have no idea what this kid's job is. And I say kid, but he's probably in his mid-20s, right? But he's worked for the Browns for a couple of years, and so this friend of ours gets Browns tickets on the regular. So that's kind of cool. I have been to one Browns game when I was in college. It was a Monday night game, San Francisco versus Cleveland, in like 1993 or 94 or something like that.
Okay.
So it was a fun experience, man.
Yeah, San Francisco probably whooped them pretty good.
Destroyed them. Absolutely. It was like 63-2. Like it was.
Seemed like it.
Yeah, it probably wasn't that bad. It was probably like 31-17 or something. But I mean, San Francisco was just up and down the field, and Cleveland was like how we play football. We don't know. So, yeah. Are you researching over there, or are you trying to pick up chicks? Drew's over there on his phone.
Neither,
and I don't care.
Neither. It's just like, so I've been applying for jobs.
Right.
And, like, I'm also getting, like, messages like, oh, hey, I'm, from, like, LinkedIn and stuff like that, so I got to answer certain questions. And,
right.
Yeah, it's like, I got those going on. A couple of people texted me at one time. Yeah, so it's like listening to your conversation that you're having with yourself. So, yeah.
Well, I'm having a conversation with myself because you're over there on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, I'm multitasking.
Are you, though?
Of course. I multitask every day. All day.
All right. So after Drew and I record this, we're going to go to the Niagara Falls Americans, and they have a home game tonight. Who are we playing? Niagara Falls Americans taking on the Newark Pilots, which earlier in the season we're having a really good year, and it's Americans photo giveaway, so we get to get pictures of
probably players.
Yeah.
And I think Newark's actually one of the better teams.
Well, they were at one point leading the league. Now we are. The Americans are back on top.
Well, that's because we play every day.
Well, yeah, and we won like 7 in a row.
Well, yeah, we started out the year 7 in a row, then we lost like 6 in a row, and then so it's like, all right, well, very up and down.
Yeah. Speaking of the Niagara Falls Americans, we have extra tickets to the July 4th game. I will not be able to go, and Drew doesn't need 6 tickets, so we have tickets to spare. If you would like a pair of tickets, just hit us up at All WNY News on X, formerly Twitter, or at allwny.com on Blue Sky.
So and currently,
you want 2 tickets. The only catch is you've got to pick the tickets up at our Niagara Falls office, 1625 Buffalo Avenue, sometime during business hours between today and Thursday, because I won't be here Friday. I'm going to be at the cottage with my lovely wife and her family playing drinking games or whatever.
Or somebody can contact me and I can get them the tickets.
Yeah, but you won't be paying attention.
Okay. But so right now, Auburn is in first place in the West. Niagara Falls is second. And who you said who they playing?
Newark Pilots.
Third place.
All right.
Yeah. So Niagara Falls Americans have 23 games played. The closest team has 15 games played.
Really?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. They're playing like every day.
See, I just kind of assumed everybody was playing every day.
No. Here's this.
Interesting, yeah. Because the Bisons play 6 days a week, and the entire NILB plays 6 days a week. And I just assumed that everybody had similar schedules. That's really weird. So then later in the season, everybody else will be playing, and we'll be resting.
I guess so. Like, unless they're getting a lot of rainouts or whatever, or. I don't know. It doesn't make sense why we have so many more games than everybody else.
Right. Yeah, because like you said, so we've got 23 games. The next highest is the Jamestown Tarp Skunks with 15. So that's, it's not unusual for there to be a couple games difference.
Right. That's 8 games. That's like 2.5 or 3 weeks.
That's a third. That's a third of what we've played.
Yeah, that's 2.5, 3 weeks worth of games that we'll have way more than.
Interesting. I had not noticed that.
Yeah, I seen that like yesterday. I think it was. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Like that's odd. Like I can't figure it out, and there's no way to really see because the league doesn't really post like that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know.
Huh. All right, Drew. Let's take a quick break. I play a couple songs. Well, I don't have to play a couple songs, but we're going to play a couple songs. So coming up, we have got No Ambition by Cardboard Homestead, and we've got Ain't Much to Look At by the Dreadnecks. And so we're going to play a couple songs. We'll come back. Drew, I have a question for you. Apparently you have a question for me. Folks, I already told you what my question was for Drew, but I have no idea what his question is for me. So we'll do that, and I don't know, we'll probably wrap that up shortly thereafter. It's going to be a little shorter show than usual. I know we usually do 2 hours on the dot. This is going to be hour and a half, hour 40. I don't know. We'll see what we end up at. But I'm okay with it if you're okay with it, because I got to tell you, last night at about 11 p.m., I was thinking to myself, maybe I just won't do a show this week because I had so much going on today.
I kind of insisted, guys.
Well, no, you didn't. Well, so here's what happened. I woke up early for no reason whatsoever without an alarm. I had set my alarm for 11 a.m., and I woke up before the alarm and just...
I sent you a text at like 9:30ish, and you were already up, which was very shocking.
Exactly. My point. I set the alarm for 11, but I was already up, and I was like getting stuff done. So because I woke up early, I decided that we would do a show. And obviously we want to do the show every week, but, dude, life happens, and sometimes there's just too much going on. Fortunately, this week we avoided that. But because of all of the stuff that I did have happening, we are still going to have to make this a slightly shortened show. But that's okay. You're listening to Here's the Thing. I'm Scott Leffler. He's Drew McGrath, and we will be right back.
I have no ambition or to carry the world. I just want to get fucked up and call up at work. But what does it get you? Hangover, no pain. And fucking is kidding. Who needs cash anyway? And I'll say that I don't. And I'm screaming from the roof. We're all playing to the screen. The red, white, and blue.
The Niagara Falls Americans are off to a great start to their second season at Sale Magley Stadium. With nearly 24 home games left throughout June and July, there's plenty of opportunity to catch the action. Why not see them all? Season tickets start at just $99 and are available now at NiagaraFallsAmericans.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, today the role of Scott Leffler will be played by Hannah Montana.
Welcome back to Here's the Thing. Thank you to Cardboard Homestead and the Dreadnecks for our musical interlude there. Drew and I still here in studio at 1625 Buffalo Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York. And we've come back to, among other things, ask each other our questions of the week. Now, originally when we talked about this, we had a couple different versions, and I thought we would each ask each other a question each week. And then it just kind of ended up that one person would ask a question. But this week, Drew's like, no, I got something I got to ask you. So we're both asking questions this week. By the way, if you ever want to ask us questions, you can do so via social media. On X or Blue Sky or Facebook or, hell, Instagram, I don't care. All Western New York News and All Western New York Radio and just All Western New York is on all those things. So if you have a question for us, does not have to be about sports, by the way. Drew knows things other than sports, not many, but he does know a few things other than sports. All right, so I'm going to ask you my question first.
Okay.
And then we'll get to your question in a minute. And I was thinking about this, and I don't know what made me think about it, but here's the situation.
Okay.
My parents went away on a week vacation.
Is this a true story or okay, made up? Okay, made up scenario. Okay.
No, that's the first lines of Parents Just Don't Understand. Will Smith's first line.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, but seriously, here's the situation. There is a zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
You can have one athlete, current or former athlete, but has to be alive, protect you.
Oh.
Who would you pick?
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar is a great choice. I was actually thinking myself along those lines of like WWE, but for me, most of the WWE stars that I know are older and kind of out of shape. You know what I mean? So, and I know Brock Lesnar is not just a WWE star. He did UFC.
Right.
Who did he play football for?
He was on the preseason roster for the Minnesota Vikings.
Who did he play college for, though? Minnesota?
No, he didn't play college football.
He didn't. I thought he did.
No, he was a college wrestler.
All right. I thought he played
at the
college.
University of Minnesota.
All right. So, he is from Minnesota, and you know what? If I was a zombie and Brock Lesnar was protecting you, I don't think that I would run after you. I would probably look the other way and run away.
Yeah. So to me, it, like, you know, that was an easy answer for me, just because of the fact of the WWE background,
right.
But the UFC background, it's like, you know, like.
And I expected you to come up with a football player, because there are so many football players who are big and, you know, bulky and strong and etc. And so that's funny, because my answer is also not a football player and not what you would consider a traditional athlete, because I started thinking about WWE and then kind of went from there. And my answer, this name has already come up today in conversation, although it was off. We were not recording. It's going to seem weird, but I can back it up. Schwarzenegger. Now, I know the dude's like 78 or 80 or whatever, but one, I still wouldn't mess with him. He could kick both of our asses without trying.
Okay.
Two, he's got the resources. You know, and let's just say the, you know, zombie apocalypse, the economy collapses, fine. So all the money he has is worth nothing. But he has stuff. He has cars, he has guns, he has...
Right, and Brock Lesnar owns a farm.
Right.
And he also does his own hunting and stuff like that, too.
Right.
So, like, yeah, so, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, and I really do, I really would feel comfortable with Arnold Schwarzenegger protecting me.
See, also, like, I also like think about it too in this aspect of, like, you got to be able to get, like, punched in the face and everything like that. Like, you got to, and be able to, like, sustain it and take it.
Right.
So, like, to me, though, that's got to be some sort of a combat sport.
Now, here is the downside of both of our choices. If they get bit, they are now chasing us. And we're dead.
That's why, right. So that's why somebody with a combat sport that can use their hands, like, and their feet.
So there's that. By the way, the reason Drew and I were talking about Schwarzenegger earlier is because we were talking about the new Running Man movie, and Schwarzenegger was in the original Running Man movie, which Drew had never heard of and has not seen, so that's now on his list of movies he has to watch. But the new trailer for Running Man dropped today with Glenn Powell as the Running Man, and it looks really good. I didn't expect it to. I'm always nervous about remakes. You know, they're remaking Buffy or rebooting, but I'm not sure exactly how the Buffy thing works. But like, I feel like the original Buffy was perfect, and why would you mess with it?
I wouldn't say perfect. It was, but like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
are there no new ideas in the world? Apparently not.
That's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, that was a rhetorical question.
Okay.
All right. So that was my question. Speaking of non-rhetorical questions, what is yours?
Okay, so since you have been to the stadium, hi Mark, Ralph,
Ralph
Rich,
Wilson. Now I haven't been there in a while. The last time I was there was probably.
Was it still called the Ralph at the time?
It was
or
probably
Rich?
Ralph. It was probably
because it was Rich Stadium first, and then it was the Ralph, and then it was.
I don't know. I don't know when it made the change, but I will tell you this: the last time I was at a game was when my kids were little.
Okay.
So we're going back. My big one's 28, my little one's 25. So we're probably going back at least 15 to 20 years.
That's probably the Ralph.
And we used to go all the time. We'd go for kids' night, which was a thing that they used to do during preseason. Do they still do it?
Yeah. The one preseason game that we have this year is going to be that.
So it used to always be, because there used to be 2 preseason games every year, and one of them was kids' night, and it was always fun. But the traffic was a lot, and like, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of going to the games for a variety of reasons. But anyway, so long story short, yes, I have been to the stadium.
Okay. So with the stadium closing this year, for you, what is your most memorable moment of the stadium?
All right, so there's no question to this one. So I'm in high school, and I think I was a senior in high school. And I go to a game with my friend Ron Lindemann. Now, so much interesting stuff going on here. Ron Lindemann, a friend of mine in high school, he played trombone. We were both in band together. We also went to prom together, not as dates, but we went with our dates.
So they say.
No, this is really interesting. His date is my wife.
Oh, Jeanette?
Yeah. So all the way back in high school, when I went to prom, I drove, and
so you were scheming and plotting, basically.
I was not.
Okay.
But so I drove. It was me and my date, and then my buddy Ron and his date, who I just married a month ago. So we actually have photos. I don't know if I've ever shown you of like us all dressed up for prom.
No.
So that's kind of neat. Anyway, so Ron and I went to a game. And it was the Raiders-Bills 51-3.
Really? You were at that game?
That is
cool.
Definitely, without a doubt, my most memorable.
That's cool.
It was, dude, it was cold, it was snowing, it was miserable. But it was
worth it.
So much fun.
It was worth it because of the game.
So much fun. Now, I've been to other games, you know, in the fall when it was nice out and et cetera, et cetera. And I've probably been to a dozen games in all. I cannot tell you another opponent of those 12 games, but I definitely remember that Raiders game. So much fun.
Okay, so for me, I would have to say so my first game and was a year when we were 3-13.
Okay.
When Pell was our quarterback, we were playing the Seattle Seahawks. We went with my friend Joe and my friend Matt at the time, and so we were at the game. We went. Just first game there in that stadium. It was kind of cool. It was cool, but it was just actually got to do it with friends.
Sure.
And then other than that, I would say. The one country concert that I was there at.
I've never seen a concert there.
it was wild. Like, okay, so our stadium is like 70,000, right? To see that many people inside that stadium for a concert, like, that was insane. Now, watching something, though, honestly, I think the one event that I actually liked watching and have a memory of with that stadium, I watched all the 51-3 and everything like that. I watched that, but was the Winter Classic.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that, watching that, I think that was awesome.
The OG Winter Classic, January 1st, what was that, like 2003, something like that?
I don't remember what year it was. But
All right, so you mentioned the country concert, and I quickly looked up a lyric from the band Sloan from the song "Coax Me," and the lyric is, "It's not the band I hate, it's the fans." Now I've used that before, and for me, your thought with your country music experience, I got to imagine it's not the music you loved, it was the fans, because man, country girls.
Yeah. And the tailgating party was wild.
I can only imagine. Now, I do have one other memory from a Bills game, and it actually has nothing to do with the game, and it's not necessarily a good memory, but I am going to share it with you. So I was at one of the kids' nights, preseason. I don't know what year. I could figure it out by Googling it. I could even figure out who the opponent was, because it would be easy for me to figure out what day it was. And the reason is because something happened that day. I was at the game with my family, and a guy I worked with at the time, I was working at WLVL Radio in Lockport, and a guy I worked with at the time, Jim Pastrick, who has just done all sorts of Buffalo radio stuff, was on 97 Rock. He actually, so when I do the things in between, today the role of Scott Leffler is played by, that's Jim Pastrick.
Okay.
So, and I'm actually going to have them redone just because some of them are a little dated. So I'm going to have my buddy Jason Willett, who does the intro, is going to redo some of those and come up with some fresher things. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm off on a tangent, as frequently happens with me. So I'm at the game with my family. Jim Pastrick calls me, which was unusual, and tells me that a mutual friend of ours had gotten into a car accident and died.
Wow, that's tough.
That mutual friend was Clip Smith. No? So Clip Smith, the Clipper, did sports for WKBW, Channel 7, then had a show on WBEN for a number of years. And it was Lockport guy, all-around great guy, but he had gotten into a car accident and unfortunately passed away, and Jim called to tell me because I had a radio show to do the next day, and that was my topic. He didn't tell me that was my topic, but the fact that he told me, so I actually think I did a 2-hour-long show. It was, at the time, was only doing 1-hour-long shows. Did a 2-hour-long show that day just for people to call with their memories of Clip Smith. So I remember that game, but I don't remember the game at all. That's the only part that I remember.
Yeah. So like I watched the podcast with Sal Capaccio and Matt Bove. And Channel 7, I think, Matt Bove is on, the sports director. So they're doing like a series like during the preseason every Monday of like memories of the stadium and everything like that.
Right.
And so it was like, so it brought to me like the question, like
it's a good question. It's
like,
a good,
what was your like favorite memory? Like and that's like for me, it's like it doesn't really have to be a game.
Right.
Like there's been so many events there.
I mean, just to make sure we're on the same page, and I think everybody knows this is not a favorite memory. It's just a vivid memory,
Yeah, it's like something that like you can say like, okay, when that stadium closes down, if you ever go to the new stadium and you're with someone who's never been to that old stadium, you can be like, well, hey, like what, this, we had this event here or whatever. It was cool or whatever.
My Powerball pick's got to win before we can go to the new stadium, though. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, unless we go to the standing area only.
Right. Now the Sabres arena, Marine Midland, KeyBank, HSBC, whatever you want to call it. I have a lot of memories there. I've been to a lot more games there. One thing I can tell you is They used to have a Tux and Pucks every New Year's Eve.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And so that was a lot of fun. I went to that a few times with the same girlfriend that I went to the prom with in high school. We went on a few different occasions.
I've been to a concert there as well. It was a Destiny's Child concert. It had like Nelly in it, Eve. It was like 6 or 7 groups total.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good show.
The only concert I've ever seen there was Pearl Jam. That was a fun show. But like I've been to a whole bunch of other things there. Like they had like Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus was there with the kids.
Yes, I went to the old Odd. I went to the Odd when that was there because
they had monster trucks. That I went to once with the kids.
I've gone to wrestling events,
several WWE events because I used to get free WWE tickets from WLVL.
Yeah.
And so we went to several different WWE events there, and that was just a lot of fun. We made signs. I remember making a sign about Stacy Keebler once that was probably not appropriate. But whatever, so I actually have more good memories there. And generally speaking, I feel like that's a more family-friendly environment. I don't hate going nearly as much because there's not the traffic. You don't get stuck. You can take the train in. But that's just my take. Now, I've also seen the Bandits there a couple times, but not in several years. Definitely got to go to one of those soon.
I'd like to go to a Bandits game. I've never been to one, so I think that would be cool.
And then I also have several, Pilot Field, Coca-Cola Field, Salem Field, whatever you want to call it, memories.
Yeah.
Most of which are not baseball related.
I went to 2 concerts that I remember. One I was in high school. It was Kiss the Summer Low. 98.5 was doing that. And then it was Taste of Country.
Right.
And then I went to
another country show.
Yeah.
Drew is not a country music fan, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
No, but
he likes the fans.
Family. Yeah, my dad, my mom, my sister were huge country fans. So I would end up going with them and stuff.
Well,
like
they used to do like an annual brew fest.
Yeah, I was gonna say I went to the year I think it was like 2002 when we got Drew Bledsoe.
Right. Right
after we got him. He was at the Buffalo Wing Fest.
Yes, the Wing Fest used to be there as well.
Yeah.
And I think is it back there now, or is it still because they had moved it to Orchard Park.
Right. I don't know if they moved it back.
Yeah,
or not.
but when it was at Coca-Cola Field, Salem Field now, I went to a few of those, and those were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I said the annual beer festival or brew festival or whatever it was called. I went to a couple of those with Ellen.
And then the game you and I went to, the Josh Allen celebrities or the Micah Hyde celebrity softball game, that was cool as well.
That was cool. And then of course you and I went to a
actual Blue Jays game.
A Jays game there.
Yeah.
And then I went to a Jays game the next night or 2 nights later with Ellen. Ellen, for those of you who don't know, ex-girlfriend, one of my best friends in the world. Because for some reason or another, I get along with almost all of my ex-girlfriends, except the one that I don't. But that's another issue, which we're not going to talk about ever.
Right. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, because that stadium technically is closing and everything like that, right. And the new Highmark Stadium is opening. I figure
that's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah. And so, people out there probably have been thinking about this for a while because, as you said, they are talking about it on other media. But if you want to chime in, please feel free to do so on social media. What's your memory from, Rich Stadium / Ralph Wilson Stadium / Highmark Stadium, and then throw in the other stadiums or arenas while you're at it. Buffalo sports memories that aren't necessarily related to the game can be, but not necessarily related to the game. Yeah. All right, Drew, why don't we wrap things up? Speaking of a game, we got a baseball game to get to.
Yes, we do.
And you and I'll be back next week. We'll do this all again?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Why don't you play some music?
Maybe next week we'll have a full 2 hours. Maybe not. I don't know. You've been listening to Here's the Thing. I'm Scott. He's Drew. We'll see you next week.
Peace. Later.
Live from the archive. We've been hosting live events since 2006. We have them recorded, and we like to dust them off once in a while. Friday and Saturday nights, 9 to midnight, on all Western New York radio.